Now, making this distinction between extrinsic and intrinsic motivation is only important because now we're going to give you some extrinsic ways in which you can affect or impact the intrinsic motivations of your salespeople. And I think it's a really important concept to understand, is that you're not putting intrinsic motivators there in the first place into your salespeople. That's their genetic makeup. That's part of their motivational profile. But what you can do is you can affect those intrinsic motivations through your actions, and your actions are extrinsic motivators. And each sales rep should have a different motivational strategy or a motivational profile that you create so that you can apply extrinsic motivators to impact their intrinsic motivation. And we don't want to get into too much theory here, but it's an important point to remember that you're the one who applies the extrinsic motivation to impact the intrinsic motivations of your salespeople. So how do you do that? Well, what you do is, and I think one of the things that we've talked about here on the show quite a bit, is that you can't look at each one of your salespeople as the same. Each one of them does, in fact, have a different motivational profile. Some people are more motivated by one thing versus another. And I think the classic scenario is that most sales managers and most sales upper executives look at their salespeople and they say, well, if we put a good bonus plan together or a commission plan and we motivate them and by putting a good pay plan in place, then everything's going to work out just fine. And I think that absolutely has something to do with it. But as we talked about in previous shows, money is not the sole motivator for your salespeople. It's what that money means. So by painting a broad brush and trying to motivate them all the same way, you end up really missing the mark and not being as effective as you possibly could be if you had an individual motivational profile and an individual motivational strategy for each one of the people in your sales force. So if we use that idea that, yes, each person is motivated through an individual set of motivations, how do you formulate that strategy? And what do you do specifically in order to motivate your salespeople in the right way? Well, we've created 6 different profiles for each one of your individual people based upon the results from a questionnaire. And a questionnaire, it's an 8-question questionnaire. We call it the motivational questionnaire, which you can get inside the Sales Management Mastery Academy. That will create a profile, a motivational profile for your individual sales reps. And with that 8-question questionnaire, either done through your salespeople filling it out on their own or you filling it out on your own and guessing on the answers, you'll then get a very good idea as to what the specific motivations are for each one of your people. If you do this for all 10 people on your sales team, or maybe you have your sales managers do it for every person on your sales force, you'll get a very good idea as to what motivates each individual person. And then based upon those answers, then you can use individual strategies, which we're going to get into in future shows here, for each one of those profiles, which tie right back into a lot of the concepts that we've already discussed here in the Sales Management Mastery show, as well as what we teach within the Academy itself. Now, in our future shows on this individual concept, we're going to be tying back into the motivational strategy some of the things that we've already learned through the show, which is establishing trust, leading by being led, setting expectations by goal setting and setting the bar higher, as well as a lot of the motivational stuff that we've already discussed, like praise, appreciation, and all those things. But we're now looking at it from a more scientific standpoint, is that, different people respond to praise in different ways. Different people respond to appreciation in different ways. Different people are motivated by money in different ways and what that means to them. So we're going to be tying this all right back in to these 6 individual profiles and then tailoring your strategy for what you do and how you actually interact with your salespeople accordingly based on those concepts. So you're not just doing a bunch of things and throwing a bunch of stuff at the wall. You're actually using a lot of the concepts that you learned here on the show, and you're tailoring it for an individual rep based upon their motivational profile. So, but the important thing to remember from what we've talked about here today, and just to review, is that there's 2 basic types of motivation. The first one is intrinsic motivation, which is the motivation or the satisfaction that people get from the task itself. And it comes from the enjoyment of that task itself. And it can be any number of tasks. as a salesperson, or any number of tasks outside of the sales world, non-business related tasks that your salespeople derive enjoyment from. Those are the things that you can't affect. You can't put in there in the first place. They're either there or they're not, and that profile is different for each individual rep. What you can do is you can affect, from an extrinsic standpoint, the extrinsic motivator. So the two types of motivation are intrinsic and extrinsic. And extrinsic is motivators that come from the external or outside forces, meaning you as the sales manager, or you as the vice president of sales, or you as the sales trainer. These are the things that you can do as long as they're tailored specifically for the profile or the way that the individual rep is motivated. You can supercharge them to super performance. So it's important for us to understand those two concepts as we move forward here in the show series, and we're going to get into a lot more on the 6 P's of motivation and the strategies and tactics and techniques that you can use to maximize your own sales performance and your own individual success in your sales management career. Now, for hundreds of other sales management techniques and strategies such as this one, you can find them in the Sales Management Mastery Academy, along with tons of done-for-you resources to help your sales managers achieve sales management success. To claim your free sales manager training inside the Sales Management Mastery Academy, including our most popular training of all time, How to Motivate Your Sales Team to Peak Performance, visit salestraininggift.com. That's it for this week's episode of Sales Management Mastery. Until next time, wishing you ultimate sales management success.
You've been listening to the sales management, motivational, and leadership training expert, Ralph Burns. Ralph invites you to discover the sales manager training secrets that will unleash a flood of new sales from your sales team. Visit salestraininggift.com and you'll get instant access to your choice of life-changing sales manager training techniques, only taught in the internationally acclaimed Sales Management Mastery Academy online community. Go now to salestraininggift.com. Sales Management Mastery.